Hello, and welcome back to the ministry. And today we're talking about Beyond the Lights Part 3. So, where I left off at, she had now come to pick him up, and she was going to take him on the private jet. And one thing led to another. You know what happened. And then they go back. She drops him off, or they come back to her place. I think they come back to her place. And he's feeling all good and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I'm in the afterwards. And she get a phone call from her mother about it's an award show. I don't know whether it's MTV, VH1, or whatever, the fictional version of whatever that award show was. It might have been the BET Awards. But she's supposed to go on stage and perform with the guy because she has to redeem herself, one, with a record label, and she has to redeem herself with her people to show that she's not crazy. So they want her to walk the red carpet with the guy, and she kind of explains to him, oh, and by the way, I've technically not broken up with him yet. He still thinks I'm his girlfriend. And he's like, excuse me? And he gets all angry and leaves, and she chases him outside, and she's like, really? Oh my God. And she comes back in, and she's angry, but she don't break nothing yet. Your God ordained spouse, it's a order of operations. Whether it's a female God ordained spouse or a male God ordained spouse. Sometimes it's about what looks good. I remember I used to watch Scandal several years ago, and what it was when they wanted to put a politician in a particular seat is they would arrange the marriage that they were in, situate the person to be with the person that would stand next to them as their wife throughout this experience. As we know with Hollywood, there actually is a potential that the person that you're seeing, so for all of y'all that may potentially have a God ordained spouse, the person you're seeing them with in the public eye, that might not be their woman. That might be the person that the industry has positioned them to stand next to make sure people aren't questioning certain things about them. So what happens is it becomes this is the person that you're going to be with every time you go on the red carpet. It's not particularly that they are in a relationship with this person, and we all have seen it and heard it. But they have to create a narrative around that person. They have to create a narrative around this person having this type of lifestyle. But that ain't the person that they with, which makes it awkward for the person that they are with, if they're with anybody. Because the person seemingly needs to fit the environment. Some of y'all be flipping out about the people that they standing next to. And the Lord done say, that's the one. And you're like, you see that woman they standing next to? How can I be the one? And God's like, they're not with that person. And you're like, well, it doesn't look like they're not with that person. What you mean? They're not with that person. And for y'all holier than thou people that don't think this kind of stuff happens in the church, it happens in the church too. I've heard a couple of ministers make references to the fact that some of these ministers will go into the church having the appearance of being with their wives in a heterosexual relationship, and they are gay. I saw somebody call somebody out. They didn't particularly call the person's name out, but you knew that they were calling somebody out in their story. And I've actually heard the story of a woman who was in relationship with a person that was a pastor. And the person ended up abusing them as soon as they got married to them. And the women in the church are ridiculous. I remember one night I left church late and one of the pastors was supposed to ride me home, and I stood there and listened to the stories that they were sitting up there talking about. We stood there for a good 2 hours. And they were telling stories. It's one of the reasons I miss that old church. Because it was a very family oriented place. And they would tell the stories like the way that your uncle and aunt would tell at the family reunion or the backyard barbecue, or if you were sitting in their living room and everybody was sitting together. That's the way that church was. They were telling church stories about stuff like that. And one of the pastors, the male pastors, was talking about how the women were approaching them. So sometimes it's about looks, not about what they're actually going through. So she ended up having a show. So he showed up as security. He was coming to be security for the show. Because he's kind of been the bodyguard character. Now, all was good. She broke up with the guy just before the show. She was in her trailer. She was talking to him and she told him how she truly felt. Now, she had made the call prior because after she found out it had upset him, she made the call. But when they got to the award show, when they were in the midst of their performance, he touched her inappropriately while they were on stage, supposed to do a particular skit. And he got aggressive upon the touching part for that particular skit. And the guy who was the security, which is the guy that she's starting to fall for, he gets irritated, goes up there and punches the guy, which starts a fight, which messes up her performance and thereby puts her in purgatory with the record label, because the record label's like, we told you this was your opportunity. What in the world are you doing? So